Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of our live season. So today's podcast will be talking about this statement, which I'm pretty sure everybody is very familiar with. I don't have enough time, or I don't have time, somewhere along the lines of this. I think we're all guilty of it because even for myself, hence this podcast episode, or even the people around me, my parents, my friends, I think this statement is something that we throw around like nobody's business, because I think especially in Singapore, we are all rushing to somewhere, or we're all rushing for something, right? It's just like, I don't know, I think it's just a culture thing. Or yeah, we just always feel like we're in a rush to get to somewhere, or we're constantly in this rush to get things done because we're always in this go 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 mentality. I think it's just like even in the work culture, or even in school cultures, it's like that, right? What I want to say, and I just want to jump straight into this topic, where you have actually more than enough time, no matter what circumstances you're in life right now. I bet that you're just not using it wisely. I know I'm probably gonna, it's not what people tell you, because you can come up with a lot of like excuses, or a lot of reasons why you don't have enough time to justify this statement. I've been there, I've done that. I know, when you hear people saying like you actually have more than enough time, the first reaction is to always try to justify why you don't have enough time and why you live up to this statement, right? It can be a lot of reasons. It can be reasons like, oh, I have a 9 to 5 job, or it can reasons like I have commitment, or I just can't, like my 9 to 5 takes up majority of my time, this and that. There's a lot of reasons that you can come up with. And I've been there. I'm actually very guilty about it. So I think that's why like I decided to have this as a podcast episode, because I'm now someone that no longer y- live by this statement of I don't have enough time, or I don't have time. Especially when I realized that time is a concept of, how you use your time. Time is really, I would say, like a fluid state whereby you're able to change and create more time in your life, or in your day to day. I know we all only have 24 hours or 12 hours, or however many hours that you have, but trust me, it's what we make out of that time, and we can actually do a lot, in this 12 hour, in this 24 hour, in this 8 hours that we actually have. Okay? So yes, like I mentioned, even if you're in a 9 to 5, but you want to build a side hustle, or you just want to have like a 5 to 9 before your 9 to 5. Okay, sounds a bit confusing, but basically it's like a passion project, right? Because this is me, and I know it too well that excuses that we come up with, that we tell ourselves why we can't work on certain projects, or why we can't work on certain passion project, is because of XYZ, right? It's either because you're so drained from work, or because I'm not ready yet, or because I need to constantly work overtime, or I need this, and that, whatever excuses. A lot of needs and have actually comes up if you realize it, and you start to be conscious about what you tell yourself, and the reason why you don't have time. You realize that there's a lot of I need to do this, I have to do this, I must do this, right? But let me tell you the truth. And are you ready for the hard truth? Because around here, I don't sugarcoat. I don't like to sugarcoat things, and I don't believe in sugarcoating, because there's no, yeah, there's just basically no benefits of from sugarcoating. But anyways, this was a very hard pill for me to swallow, myself, but I actually needed it. So the needs and have that you have in life, or rather that you tell yourself on a day to day basis, are just excuses for you to not do the things that you want to do, and to continue staying in your comfort zone. I know it's a very, very, very hard pill to swallow. It's like a slap in the face. I get that, but it is the truth, right? I know that it's very uncomfortable, that when you hear this, you almost want to, just, I don't know, fight back. Like your first instinct is to be like, no, to defend yourself by saying that, you don't know my circumstances, you don't know me, you don't know this and that. But, like I mentioned earlier, if you try to find an excuse, there will always be an excuse that you can use. If you try to find, something to justify your statement, there will always be something. Because this is how smart our brain is basically to, our brains will actually find what you are looking for, whether it's a negative thing, or it's a positive thing, or it's a good thing, a bad thing. Whatever it is that you're trying to find, that you're trying to defend yourself for, your brain will have experiences, will have, um any excuses that they can find, or any statements that you can find to support your statement. This is just how we are built as humans, right? So I think there's good and bad in this, that you're able to control your mind, and whatever with whatever that you're telling yourself, or you can just go with the flow of finding excuses. Okay, so unless you're telling me that you have a family that needs your support, or you have commitments, I would say that that you're able, that you say that you don't have enough time, that is justified, right? Like having commitments and being in a scenario whereby you can't even think of dreaming, or you can't even think of chasing after your dreams, I think it's validated in a sense where, but it's just not possible, right? And I know that because my dad used to be like that. So I'll go into that a little bit more later, at the later part of this like podcast. But unless you're telling me that, or unless you're saying that your situations or circumstances is like that, then I would say that having not having enough time is not an excuse for you, right? It's just a way to defend yourself, and it's just an excuse for you to not chase after the things that you want to do, okay, or whatever that that you desire. So I would say that it's funny how we desire certain things so badly, be it a side hustle that allows us to quit our 9 to 5 at the end of the day, or just a passion project that allows us to be in our flow, to feel creative, to just, let creativity flow and be carefree. But what we don't know is that the biggest challenge we face is not having enough time, or not having enough money, but rather it's ourselves. We are our biggest challenge if you think about it. It's really funny because we get really creative coming up with excuses and reasons to convince no one but ourselves that we don't have enough time, or that we can't do XYZ because of XYZ, right? And so we stay put in our own comfort zone. I think this is where like we spend all our creativity and all our time coming up with excuses to justify why we don't have time. Yeah, I know it's a bit like mind blown, but rather it's a bit, it's a bit confusing, but this is basically what we do. Okay, so now here's the thing. I think I want to tell you, and also I tell myself, that what I want you to ingrain in your mind is that when it comes to anything in life, right, our biggest enemy is actually ourselves. No one else but ourselves. Our thoughts, our choice of words, the way we speak to ourselves, what you choose to tell yourself, what story you choose to live by, what story you choose to tell yourself and create into your reality, what determines what determines your reality and your outcome. Whatever that you're saying right now is based on what you have been telling yourself, what we have been thinking about, right? So I would say that whether or not you go on and do big things in life to chase after that fulfilling life, however that looks like for you, on whether you just sit down and just come up with excuses time and time again, and then few years down the road you find yourself still stuck in the same position, telling yourself the same thing, the same old excuses, it ultimately really boils down to the story that you choose to be attached to as part of your identity. I think that is the biggest difference between people who go out there and chase after their dreams and are so-called open inverted successful, or what we deem or the society deem as successful, and people who continue to stay stuck in life per se. I feel like the difference is really the mindset. Like I mentioned a lot of times, and this whole entire podcast I'll just be mentioning how mindset is so important, and how I'm on my journey of discovering my own mentality, my own mindset change. I'm not perfect, so I'm still really working on a lot of like my mindset shifts and my just a lot of judgments that I have on myself and on people in general. I feel like mindset is really, 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 really important. And it's really the key to that differentiates you from someone else, or just us from someone else. But basically, that's what I'm trying to say. So this identity, right, can look something like, I'm not smart enough, or I'm meant to stay in a 9 to 5. I think I'm more suitable in a 9 to 5 setting for whatever reason that is. So these are the type of stories that we tell ourselves. This is the type of identity that we tell ourselves that we want to live by, just because we don't want to take the step of doing the uncomfortable thing, which is to tell yourself that you actually have more than enough time, that you can actually do whatever that you want to do just by a switch of mentality. I think that's the thing whereby, when we think of getting out of our comfort zone, or even doing something that is really scary that we fear of, whether or not it's fear of failure, or whether or not it's fear of people's judgment, I feel like it's something that will always forever hold us back. And we will always try to find ways to kind of like coddle ourselves and be like, it's okay, it's fine. Like, I don't have to do that thing. But deep down, your heart is like, oh my God, go and do it. Go and do it. It keeps like disturbing you. That thought keeps coming up every single day. I think that's the thing that we really need to chase. And because of fear and we let fear take over, I think like that's the thing that, we are constantly trying to tell ourselves that it's not possible, or rather we don't have time, right? It's the easiest way out of not doing something. Let's just be honest. So I would say that I love my parents, right? One of the very good example, for context, one of the very good example is my parents. I love my parents, but sadly they fall under the category of regretting not pursuing their dream or their passion, something that they've been wanting to do in their 20s. And growing up hearing them talking about, how they are too old now to pursue anything in life or start something new, or they are not educated enough to get that promotion, even though they've been working in that company for 20 years, 20 plus years, 30 years. Yes, it's a very, very long time. I can't even begin to imagine like me working in a company for more than 10 years even. But that's just me. Like, I it's a very long time to be in a company and to dedicate your time in a company. But to tell yourself, that you're not good enough or you're not capable enough. But anyways, growing up hearing all this limiting beliefs and all of these stories, I have two choices, right? One is to take their story and make it mine, where I tell myself the same story that I'm not capable enough, that, I don't have time, that, I'm no longer able to do XYZ because of whatever reasons. And number two is to break the generation pattern. I think it's obvious which one I picked. The second one, obviously, but I can tell you that it was a hell of a ride. It definitely wasn't the easiest out of all, but I feel like essentially because essentially the path that I chose, right, choosing to break the generational pattern means that I'm willing to fall and learn and not have anyone to pick me up, but to learn myself and to be criticized, to be told what to do, to be told that I'm chasing after the wrong path, to be told that this is not the way to live life, because it's just so uncomfortable for people to see me live a life like that, because it's just not their style of living, right? And every adult try to give me like their 2 cents, like how it's not, advisable to live life like that, to just chase after anything and everything under the sun. So it's not an easy route, but do I regret it? No, like no way I would ever regret living a life like this. So don't get me wrong, I completely understand why, sometimes people just can't take the leap and quit their job because of commitments. And back then, owning a business or chasing after, your dreams just wasn't like a thing. Like for my parents' generation, they are like 50 plus 60 this year. So I would say that especially for my dad, he lost his dad at a very young age. And being the eldest in the family, of course, he had to go out there and work. All he could think of was to work and provide for his family. So I remember having this conversation with him where I asked him, like, if you can have anything in the world, what would you think of, or what would you want to have, like when you're young? He sat there for a while, and I could remember this so clearly because he sat there for a while and he couldn't come up with an answer. What he said was really heartbreaking though. What he said was like, he told me that he couldn't even afford to dream. He didn't even know what was dream to him. He didn't even know like how to dream, because all he could think of was to go out and work and provide for the family. So this is completely understandable, and I'm not saying that. I used to think that, oh my God, why is my dad like that? Why can't he just dream? Why can't he just understand this concept of chasing after, your dream? Because he has always been the person that would instill his fear in me. Not in a bad way, but it's just because I understand that he's very uncomfortable seeing the way I live life, because it's not the way that he would live life, right? And it took him very, very long to be comfortable and to get used to how I live life, and just to see the benefits that I get to reap from like living this kind of lifestyle. So even though he's really uncomfortable with it, but yeah, it's something that he come to realize and come to accept. So I would say that like why I'm saying all of this now is because of the hard work that my parents have put in. I'm able to live off it and chase after my dreams unapologetically. So yes, I'm forever, forever grateful that And I think that we all should be grateful that we are born in this generation, in this century, whereby the internet is a thing, entrepreneur is a thing. And honestly, it's not hard if you want to start something, because everything is like on the internet. What we can do is can just whip out our phones or our laptop and get to work, right? Even if you have zero idea of what you want to do, or rather if you have zero idea on how to start a business, you can simply just Google it, YouTube it. There are so many people out there talking about it, right? So you can see why having the statement of I don't have enough time, as compared to, like my parents' generation or the generation before us, is really just an excuse of, the lack of passion, the lack of discipline, like laziness and fear. And for whatever reason it is, the only way to change the way you live life and to progress forward is by identifying what is it that is truly hiding behind this statement of I don't have enough time. Because for me, when I set myself down, and it's a very, very uncomfortable process at the very start, but when you sit yourself down and you try to grade, I try to grade out of me, some stuff that came up was statements like, I'm actually afraid of how others would view me. I am not intelligent enough to do this. Who am I to desire such a big dream? Right? What are others gonna think of me if I start chasing after my dreams? I've not done this before. It's scary. What if I fail? I'm not sure if I really want this. So there are a lot more that comes up. I tried to talk myself out of it. Like this podcast is a very good example, because I've had this idea 2 years back. I started it and I stopped it, and then it popped back up again. Like this idea of having a podcast popped back up again, and I tried to talk myself out of it for the longest period of time. And the like I keep saying that I don't have enough time, but when I really sit down and start thinking about it, these were the things that popped up. If you relate to all of this, then I suggest that you actually take a day or two to identify like the common problems or the common themes that you have around, this statement of I don't have enough time. If you are like me, then the truth to it is that by saying you don't have enough time is the fear of actually judgment and failure from, judgment from others. And oh my god, I have so much to talk about this topic, but I'll leave it for another episode. For the sake of this episode, I'm just gonna ask you to ask yourself that, think about like what's the worst that can happen, and also think about what's the best that can happen, and then see whether the worst is actually worth risking for. So majority of the time the answer is yes, that it's actually worth it to risk, to take the risk and do whatever that you want to do. uh if it's a no, then I would say that, give it time, or actually just think about dropping it. Yes, I know I said it, because if it's your life path, or rather if it's meant to be in your life, if it's a path that you're meant to take, I would say that you always come back stronger than ever. You always come back as something that, you won't be able to ignore it, or you won't be able to talk yourself out of it, because it's what you're meant to do. And I know this based on my own experience. That's why I say right now, if you feel like it's not something that aligns with you, then I would say drop it. I know not a lot of people say that, but yeah, if you feel like there's a lot of resistance going through it, then that's okay. You don't have to push it. Yes, I said it. I know a lot of people would say that, we'll talk about like the hustle culture, right? Like the hustle, 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 and push for it and everything else. But to go for it, to persevere, to be in this constant go, 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 push, 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 persevere, 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 achieve, 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 without actually feeling like they are in the flow, or without actually feeling happy. By no means I encourage the hustle life or the hustle culture, but what I mean is to have a balance and discipline. Set aside, time that you need to get stuff done and to do it. If you procrastinate, then that's a topic for another day. But go and search up Mel Robbins' 5 second rule. Basically, what it is to you count down to five and then you just go and do it regardless of whatever that you think or whatever that you're doing. What it does, it actually helps you to build a good habit on doing the things that you want to do, so that you don't actually procrastinate. So I would say that I'm not about the hustle life. I've tried it, but I hated it, and that's why I come up with my own rules in life, and I want you to do that for yourself as well. So know that you don't have to always listen to whatever that someone says on the internet, or whatever that is deemed as the most successful way of doing certain things or becoming successful. I would even doesn't it doesn't matter how big they are, or whether or not they are deemed as someone who's professional, because I don't believe that anyone or everyone has life figured out. We are still figuring life out, and even if they don't tell you that, we are all still really figuring life out. And I could if someone were to tell you that they have life figured out and they have that secret key to make your life better, or to allow you to be successful, or teach you how to be successful, I call that bull. Because I know for a fact that my mentor doesn't have it all figured out, and she's very, very, very open about it. They just experience People just experience life, or experience the things that you're trying to figure out way earlier than you, and they're here to just help you out and share their lessons. So even for like me, certain experience that I have might be experiences that you will be having in the future. And by looking at back at like the podcast episodes, you would be able to realize that, or learn the lessons that I've learned, or the wisdom that I'm able to share. So I would say that it actually helps you to move past it and flow with it faster than if you were to deal with it alone. So that's just it. It's not like they have life figured out, or they have the secret key to life, because I feel like, especially in society nowadays, or just in social media, a lot of people are saying that they have like the secret to to having a successful life, or they have that secret key to, or that secret sauce to this and that, and they paint a very beautiful picture of how they have their life figured out. But if you realize, and I used to believe all of this, but until you realize, you sit down and you start looking, peeling back the curtains of like their business and stuff like that, you realize that nobody actually have life figured out. We are all still figuring life out. It's just how well we pretend to have life figured out, how well we act as if everything is good in life. Because I feel like if you show a little bit of vulnerability in this society, I think everyone has the fear of like being taken advantage of, or being seen as not good enough, right? But I feel like that's just the truth. Like, everyone is really on their own journey of figuring their life out. So don't if you ever feel like you're behind time, or if you ever feel like you're alone, that like, why does everyone seem to have their life figured out, just know that you're not alone, that we are all humans after all. Okay, so I just went on a tangent, but I just feel like I needed to say that. So back to the topic. Know that don't always have to listen to anyone. Life is not meant for you to figure it all out. It's meant for you to feel it out. Oh, I don't know where that came from, but it's a good one. I'm just gonna repeat it again. Life is not meant for you to figure it all out. It's meant for you to feel it out. Okay, feel as in FEEL. Feel it out. That's the golden nugget for today. Now of course, I'm all about tangible stuff. I'm all about taking action. So let's just say now that you feel inspired and ready to take action, what would be like the next few steps to take, right? Or what would be the way that you can actually change this "I don't have enough time" this story, and like what's next? So I would say that for me, at least, the solution that I found really helpful was, there's a total of 4 steps to it. The first is to take a look. Not okay, that's not the first step, but I would say that take a look at your screen time on your phone. That is a very good indicator of how you actually spend most of your time. Because I can bet that literally 60% or 70% or even 80% out of the time that you're spending on your phone, you are actually mindlessly just scrolling through whatever that you are scrolling through, whether it's Instagram or whether it's TikTok. Because it's like a muscle memory, it's like a habit. And I'm guilty myself. Like, I find myself scrolling through TikTok or Instagram like past midnight, and just for 3 hours. I thought it was gonna be like a 15 minutes thing, but no, it always ends up being like 3 hours, 4 hours. And I always feel guilty after that, wondering where time went. So I'm pretty sure everyone is guilty of it. Or majority of the people are guilty of it. Because we are so bored, and social media, especially like TikTok, does this really well, whereby it keeps us on the app scrolling, because all we have to do is literally just swipe up or swipe down, and we'll have like endless content to look at, right? That entertains us. So I would say that the steps I took to have more time on my hand and in my day, which does not require me to burn out or hustle, or does not require me to sacrifice my sleep time. I still do get 7 to 8 hours of sleep a day. So yeah, just saying that. And no, it does not require you to, wake up at 5 a.m., even though I do that, but I don't do that all the time. It's because I have a 9 to 5 that I have to do that. I have no choice in a sense but to do that, because I find myself being able to be productive at the start of my day instead of giving whatever that's left after my 9 to 5 to my business. I don't think it's fair to my business. So that's why I would say that whatever works for you, you can actually do it after your 9 to 5 if that works for you. If you're like I would say if you're like a night owl, yeah, and you're more productive at night. Okay, so the first step is, like anything else, I always say set an intention first. Because when you set an intention, right, you kind of win half of the battle. The other half is just taking actions. And when you set an intention, the other half comes naturally. Taking actions comes naturally because you already know what you need to do. You just gotta do it. Okay, so you do it in a with minimum resistance when you set an intention. So that's number one. I would say number two is actually to come up with a daily routine. What I find really helpful is to have a set of daily routines that I do, whether it's a night routine and a morning routine. It doesn't have to be long. I say that's the thing that I know it's a very common thing to say that have a routine, but I would say that it really doesn't have to be long. Like some of my routines can be like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and it can just be meditation. That's all. Like that's my morning routine when I don't have time for it or when I'm in a rush. But I would say the whole purpose of this routine, right, is to make sure that you're consistent and disciplined with whatever that you're trying to do. And I can tell you that it's the hardest, being consistent and being disciplined is the hardest habit for everyone to cultivate, right? But it's the best habit, honestly. That is a habit that will really serve you in the long run. So we ignore the little things and we think that, it's not significant, it's insignificant. Having a routine also, actually, what I find having a routine helps with, it actually helps you to ease into your day to day. It determines how your day goes to get you into the momentum. So I know, by the time I wake up, I know what to get done and stuff like that. So by having like a habit, it really helps you to ease into the day to day, and you don't feel like in a rush. The moment you open your eyes, you have to get to work, you have to do whatever you have to do. I feel like having a routine allows you to just take it slower. Okay, and I would say that everyone's routine is different and it can be different. It depends on, your preferences and what really lights you up. I feel like for your routine, you should feel excited waking up to. It should be something that you're excited to wake up to and start doing. Like for me, I really am into meditation now, because when I enter this meditative state, I'm just so calm. And I feel like, I always come out as a different person after my meditation. So now it's a non-negotiable for me to meditate every morning. So that's just my morning routine, right? And another thing for me is that my routine only happens from Monday to Thursday. The reason why is because I tried having routines on Monday all the way to Sunday, and I realized I couldn't follow through from Friday night all the way to Sunday, because weekends are the time where I used to spend with my family members, with my relatives, and it's just very hard for me to go through with it, especially when every weekend is so different. I have so much, like, family activities going on during the weekends. So when I have that and I put pressure on myself that, I need to follow a set of routine during the weekends, knowing that I won't be able to complete it, I feel pressured and I beat myself up for not following through. So when I decided to really let go and release having a routine during the weekends, let me tell you, the most amazing thing happened. I actually feel so much lighter and I get a lot more done, because I train my body and my mind to know and to think that, okay, Monday to Thursday morning, I'm actually in the work mode. And then during the weekends, I can actually get to relax a little bit more. And this allows me to have that balance in life. And I really, truly enjoy this, instead of just trying to rush through everything and trying to have a routine day to day. I feel like this is the thing that not a lot of people talk about, or nobody talks about, because everyone is like, oh, have a routine and follow through it like every single day. And if you skip 1 or 2 days, like, you're doomed, right? It's not like that. So to me, this is balance. To me, this is healthy habits. But if you can, or if you want to work during the weekends, by all means go ahead, right? Especially if you have a 9 to 5 and you realize that, weekends are the only time for yourself, then yeah, do whatever works for you. Take whatever resonates and leave whatever that doesn't. Okay. So another one is to write down a to-do list, and to write down a to-do list of what you need to do. It's easier for you to track your progress. That's why I realized that it keeps me motivated as well. And I would actually break it into bite-sized pieces, so it is not very overwhelming. Okay. So it is that satisfaction when you actually check off your list, for me at least. Then I would, be excited to create more to-do list to wake up every single day to know that I'm actually productive. It's a way for me to track my progress. So this what I like to do is to do this like the previous day, the previous night, so that I can before I go to bed, I'll look at it and to know like what I need to do the next day. So if let's just say I procrastinate in the morning, we are all humans. I do that sometimes. I know that at least my to-do list will start popping up in my mind. Like I'm still in the half awake, mode. Like my to-do list will pop up in my mind and be like, okay, so these are things that you need to get done today, right? And most of the time, it will actually urge me to wake up, like to get out of bed and to do it, no matter how tired I am. But like I mentioned, I'm still human. Some of the days I would actually look through the to-do list again and realize that there's no rush to do it. Then I would allow myself to take more rest. So I would say that this is actually very normal and it's okay as long as you've built the momentum for it. As long as you know that you wouldn't skip more than 2 days. Right? If 1 or 2 days it's fine, you wouldn't skip more than 2 days and get back, on track once you are ready to go. So another one, the last one, I would say the most important part, and it's something that I kind of figured out myself, is to combine tasks. So example, I know that my morning routine includes reading, right? And I feel like it's a bit of a hassle, or rather it's a little bit of a waste of time because of the time constraint that I have in the morning before I go to work. I only have 2 hours to do like my stuff or whatever that I want to do. So reading, I wouldn't say waste it on like the 2 hours, but I wouldn't want to include it in that 2 hours. So I actually incorporate it with my commuting time. So I commute every single day for like close to 1.5 hours. So during these 1.5 hours, I will listen to podcasts. I will actually do my whatever reading that I want to be doing. What am I talking about? Okay, I would actually read when I'm commuting. So I know it sounds so like duh, like just combine it or read when you're commuting, but I would say that trust me, I used to think that I need to stack all my morning routines together back to back before I can do anything. Like it has to be in this certain flow. Like you can't break it up. But now I can tell you that, the more flexible you are, the more time you actually save. Because sometimes I just don't have the time to like meditate in the morning, right? What I would do is that I would do it in the train. As weird as it sounds, like I would just close my eyes and just meditate for even for 5 minutes. So I would say really be flexible as to the routine that you set. You don't feel a need to have to like follow through it every single day, the same thing. Switch it up to make your life more fun, I would say, to make your morning better. However that you feel called to do your morning routine that day. Whether it's meditation first, or whether it's journaling first, or whether it's reading first, or whether or not it's just hopping straight into work, whatever that suits you, I would say go do that. Okay. So with all that said, I would like to end it on this note. I know a lot of people say that you can have it all, but I realize what they don't tell you is that there are sacrifices that needs to come with it. Okay, that has to be made for you to have it all. It sounds so good that you can have it all, you can have it all, but not a lot of people tell you that you have to really do give certain things up. Because a simple example is that if you're working on your business, there are a lot of things that needs to be done, right? And if you have a 9 to 5, it's even worse because you're busier, you have more commitments. So you have to give up time. Like for me at least, I gave up time on watching Netflix or watching dramas. Yes, I do binge on them over the weekends, but during the weekdays, no matter how like I have the urge of really watching like that K drama during lunchtime, I have to shift myself and be like, okay, I need to be working on certain parts of my business during lunchtime. So you really lose have to sacrifice like times like that. But I don't see sacrifices like this as a bad thing, and I don't think you should too, because I feel like sacrifices are the things that we label as like a bad thing. Like, oh, sacrifice means you lose something. And if you have that perspective, I would say that you can listen to the previous episode where I talk about loss and gains, my perspective on it, because I feel like that's a very good perspective to take on, like a good mindset shift. So yeah, go listen to that if you haven't already. So I would say that the thing you want to accomplish won't get done itself. So find a way to balance between the doing, which is the actions, and then the being, which is to live life based on flow and live life in the present moment. Okay, so most importantly, find the thing that makes you excited, that gets you excited. Find a thing that makes your heart skip a little bit because you're so excited from it. Just thinking about it makes you want to like jump on it right away. the one that makes you, forget about time. Like you can just sit there for hours and just be doing the same thing over and over again, or to be working on a business, whatever that is for you. I would say just find the one that really gets you excited. Follow your heart. Your heart knows where to take you. Okay, so with that, I really hope that this "I don't have enough time" statement would end here. Whatever that you've been telling yourself, whatever excuses that you've been coming up with, I hope that you're ready to let it go, because it really will benefit you if you let this go and start looking into taking small steps towards working on your business or working on whatever that is that you want to work with, whether it's a passion project, right? It can just be a fun project. You never know. But I would say that work on the things, especially the one that has been sitting in your mind, like, and bugging you the whole entire time. Work on that. It's time to take action, because that's most mainly, I feel like that's the thing that is your calling, what you're supposed to do in, this lifetime. So yeah, this "I don't have enough time" statement has got to go, and I hope that this episode helps you to gain a better idea. At least for me, it helped me gain a lot of like insight on, the excuses that I've been making, and putting them aside, starting a new routine, a new life per se. This has really helped me, and I hope that, try it out, give it a try, and let me know how it works out for you, because it really has helped me. And it's been, I would say, 3-4 months now, and I'm still on this routine, happier than ever, still tweaking along the way. But I think that's just life. Like I mentioned, life is not perfect. We don't have it all figured out. Okay, so yeah, I hope you enjoy this podcast episode for this week, and I hope to see you in the next podcast episode. Bye.